John Wick Chapter 4 is epic. In this video, I'm going to share a few reasons why it's so impressive and talk about how this series may not be over just yet. So why does John Wick Chapter 4 seem so epic? Well, since this is Chapter 4, there are 4 aspects that I want to look at to explain why this movie is just so dang good. I want to look at the design, the choreography, the cinematography, and the performances of the film. And before we start, there are spoilers ahead, just so you know. The design for Chapter 4 is on a whole nother level. Every part of the visual story is in tune with the rest of the franchise, but each part of that has been enhanced for this movie. The set pieces are some of the best in the series, and you could make the argument for some of the best in the action genre. My favorite location is the Osaka Hotel. I just love the way they blend feudal Japan with futuristic technology, so that location just looked incredible to me. The director of the series has talked about how films like The Matrix have inspired the visuals for John Wick. And one design choice where you can see that influence is with the famous fight scenes inside of a massive club. In this one, there is an epic fight scene while water is just pouring down on them in the club. You can definitely see how the dark tone of the design hasn't really changed much either over the movies and is consistent across the franchise. The series continues to be about an assassin underworld, so of course those underground vibes are still present. And it's just great to see the consistent attention to detail. The character design and wardrobe are also fantastic. The new antagonist Marquis is probably the best dressed villain ever. His wardrobe, his presence, everything about him was meant to feel like royalty and ego all in one. Of course, John Wick is still rocking the black suit, and Keanu Reeves just still looks great in this role. These movies have been unique for their color palettes, and I think this film goes even bigger with the colors. The contrast of bright neon in some scenes with some nice warm natural lights in other scenes. They really had a lot of fun with the lighting and colors, and it's cool to see them get creative with that aspect of the design. Now, one of my favorite color designs was once again at the Osaka Hotel, seeing the cherry blossom trees along with glass rooms and neon bar lights, all of that mixed in with mirrors everywhere. It just made me really happy.
Pistols.
Another staple of the series has been the epic choreographed action, and Chapter 4 raises the bar in this category as well. The gunfights, the hand-to-hand combat, the sword fighting, everything about the choreography and stunts is clever and creative. The action is never boring, and even sometimes is intentionally funny. Probably my favorite part of the movie is the staircase scene in Paris. John Wick just took out a bunch of enemies and then is thrown back down the staircase. It's just a really funny touch on what was meant to be kind of a serious, intense moment. The choreography is just high intensity throughout the entire film, and you can really tell that every stunt person, they're giving 100% to their job. This clip right here went viral because the stuntman just totally committed to the task of falling down some stairs. And of course, Keanu Reeves is the one leading the charge here. At almost 60 years old, he is still committed to the action. He's committing his body to the difficult stunt work, and his knowledge of guns, weapons, fighting styles, it's just so impressive to watch. Now, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure this film has the highest body count for John Wick, which means they had to recruit a lot of people to do these complex stunts. The choreography is one of the key ingredients of why people love this series so much, and there really is an idea behind each movie. That idea is that action speaks louder than words. So they decided to double down on getting creative with the fight sequences, and people really appreciate that unique approach.
What about you, Mr. Wick? I'm going to kill you.
The cinematography for Chapter 4 is incredible. The director of photography from Chapter 2 and 3 returned for this one, so there's some nice visual continuity there. But there's also some really cool tricks that they pulled off for this film. At the beginning of the movie, they do a really cool thing called a match cut, where they go from a candle being blown out to a sunrise, which is actually very inspired by the famous cut in Lawrence of Arabia. And probably the coolest shot of the entire movie is an extended crane shot over the set during a fight scene. It's a really cool vantage point that you don't typically see in any action movie, and that crane shot allows us to see John Wick just blast away at his attackers. We can see it around corners, we can capture it all in one long take, which is just really impressive. They captured lots of wide shots in these large churches, glass rooms, and city streets, to establish the larger scale of the story. Something I noticed was that there were a couple scenes where they used a digital screen instead of using a practical shot. For example, multiple shots in Paris were filmed using virtual production and visual effects, because they wanted a certain look or a certain time of day for that scene to feel a certain way. Most people aren't going to notice the difference between a real landscape and a virtual backdrop. To me, it made those parts feel like a cutscene from a video game because they were highly digital, but it doesn't really impact the story in a negative way, so I think it still works here.
After all, a man has to look his best when it's time to get married. Or buried.
Chapter 4 continues the tradition of having an ensemble cast, and the performances are solid all around. Keanu Reeves delivers again as the hero, and it would be really hard to see anyone else in this role. His commitment to the character, to the stunts, to the simplistic dialogue, everything about the character fits Keanu well. Even the scenes when he just has one word to say, you can't help but just smile. In a supporting role, the charisma of Lawrence Fishburne is always great to see on screen, and he has the most memorable and epic lines in this film. Ian McShane also has that classy BA presence that he's known for, and it's crazy that he's still making movies at 80 years old. And then there's a handful of new characters. Donnie Yen is great as Kane, Shamir Anderson is solid as Tracker, and Bill Skarsgård plays the antagonist Marquis so well that his character is unlikable from the start. And part of that unlikable start is when he kills a fan favorite character played by the late Lance Reddick. Now, Reddick died just before the premiere of this film, but the performances from the returning characters, along with the excellent jobs done by the new characters, makes it really easy to enjoy this film. So is this the end of the John Wick franchise? Let's talk about that ending for a sec. John earns his freedom and then supposedly dies from a gunshot wound in the final battle. But is he really dead? Now, initially I thought, yeah, he's totally dead. This film is meant to be a nice conclusion to the franchise that's been going for almost 10 years now, and this is just a nice way to conclude that story and, also get Keanu Reeves to be able to move on to other projects. But apparently the director and Keanu have a different approach to the ending. Here's a clip from an interview of what the ending could possibly mean.
I have an opinion, but I don't know if we should concretize. It depends on let the audience.
Let the audience.
Yeah.
I think we just wanted it to feel fulfilling at the end of John Wick's journey. So whether it's John or John Wick, leave it to you.
So we'll just have to wait to see how that plays out. But we do know that for the first time in the series, there is an end credit scene. It's just enough of a tease to get people talking about more potential spinoffs. We do know one spinoff film is already in the works called Ballerina, and that features Ana de Armas and will take place between chapter 3 and 4. But with that end credits scene now at the end of chapter 4, I could definitely see more spinoffs in the future with some of the new and interesting characters that we saw in this film. The John Wick franchise has been financially successful and has been pretty popular too. So Lionsgate, which is the production company, they could be wanting to continue the franchise in new ways. I have really enjoyed this series, and I hope this is not the end for John Wick. Watch these suggested videos next if you want to see more content from my channel, and I'll see y'all later.